What is up, Allie G Show fam? I am your host, Allie G, and welcome back for another track of the pod. As always, you guys know this show lives at the intersection of movement, mindset, and music. The stories behind all of the miles that everybody runs or walks, the lessons we learned along the way, and the moments that shape us. Whether you are tuning in mid-run, on your commute, or just soaking in some inspiration for today, I am so glad you're here, and I truly believe you are meant to be here. Today's episode is all about Katherine Doherty, or Kat, as people know her in the New York City running community. Proud Boston native turned New Yorker, Central Park track club runner, and someone whose running story is deeply rooted in community, resilience, and family. This one is so full of heart and such a fun reminder of why we keep showing up for the sport of running. So lace up, grab your headphones, and let's get into it. Kat, I'm so excited to finally have you on the Allie G Show. I, as you know, got taken down by COVID, and I appreciate your flexibility so much. But I feel like I've heard so much about you from our mutual friend, Tim. I know you have a cool dog, that you're like an awesome runner, that you've gone on some really awesome hikes, as we just talked about, the key things that Tim told me to bring up in our chat, which hopefully we'll talk about later. But I'm so pumped you're here, and it's going to be really fun diving into your running journey and everything that's come of it. So welcome to the pod.
So happy to be here. Tim's given away all my secrets.
I know. He's like, he's giving me all the fun things. And I'm like, wait, you should let Kat tell me everything that she has to tell me. No, all jokes aside, for those that don't know you, including myself, do you want to talk a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what your life looks like outside of running?
I'm Katherine Doherty. A lot of times people refer to me as Kat, or even Kado was a nickname that I took on during like high school. And it also, I think, kind of embodies just my like 410 kind of spunky spirit. Outside of running, I'm a journalist. So I work at Bloomberg News, and I report on, right now, the big banks in the US. But I've changed what I report on. I've been at Bloomberg pretty much for the last decade, so it's been a while. It's been a very long time. I fell into journalism coming out of college, but even before college and before journalism, I was a theater girl. So I also love musical theater, also plays, but I'm definitely it's the music that like got me into theater and performing as a kid. I still love going to see shows. I just don't love having that be a profession. I
It's a difficult one.
It's a difficult
I'm
one, but I
sure.
have found that journalism is a just different form of storytelling. And outside of my job, I now am a dog mom, which is fun to say because I've always wanted a dog growing up. And now, as of the last 8 months, we have a little puppy. And I am from Boston, so I am a big masshole. That's another identity of mine. I pretty much
So
fill
funny.
every single like Massachusetts stereotype in terms of being obnoxious about sports, loving to go to Cape Cod and eating lobster rolls. I mean, you just go through the list of stereotypes, and I fill all of them. So even though I live in New York and I kind of now identify as a New Yorker, especially because I'm coming up on my decade here, I still say I'm from Boston, and that like very much formed my identity and continues to. Like I'll never ever go to a Yankees game in anything other than full Red Sox gear. I don't care if there's beer spilled on me. You'll never
It's
catch me
fair.
switching teams. I will stay loyal to my Boston teams. And my brothers also, I'm one of four kids. I'm the oldest. So two of the three brothers also live in New York, and we just all kind of stick together to try to keep the Boston spirit in New
Mm-hmm.
York City.
I love that. Wait, I have so many follow-up questions. So I'm assuming here that you landed in New York because of the Bloomberg job, right?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
okay? So that brought you
Yeah.
here. And going back to your musical theater days, I'm jumping around
Mm.
all over here. Now I'm like totally gearing away from running and
Yeah.
all the
No,
other things.
just
But
just choose a lane.
yeah, right. I mean, you have so many lanes. I'm like, wait, I have so many questions. So back to musical theater, so you were in like plays and musicals on Broadway, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite? Like what was that like?
So
What
it
was your first gig, your first audition? I told you I have so many
what's
questions.
so funny is it all like just it was not an intentional path. The only thing that was intentional about it was a uh my mom saw how much energy that I had as a really young kid. I'm talking like 4 years old. I used to get up on the coffee table of our house, and when my parents had friends over for like a cocktail party, I would make everyone stop talking and I would put on The Little Mermaid and I would sing Part of Your World. And I was like 4.
So good.
And so my mom knew I needed an outlet. So she's just started Googling community theaters around about the Boston area. And that's how it
Hmm.
started. So my first audition, actually, I was way too nervous. I cried. So I didn't even audition. And then I saw the show. It was The Wizard of Oz, and I'll never forget it. My mom took me to see it. And then I cried again because I wasn't on stage. And my mom said, well, if you're going to cry about not being in the show, you have to audition. So the
Hmm.
next audition I went on, I was like full of force. And I was just like, okay, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to do this. My first production was Bye Bye Birdie. They like wrote in a little role for me, and it was at a theater that was truly like the pinnacle of my like upbringing in Boston, because it was the first time I really got to experience community, quite literally
Hmm.
community theater. And it kind of snowballed from there. My mom, for my 10th birthday, took me to New York for the first time, and we saw Wicked. And then
Hmm.
as part of like my birthday weekend, I got to do a like workshop, a class for kids. And as part of the class, you would sing a song and then you would act. And then there was a teacher that would give you feedback. And it was just meant to be like a fun thing and to like learn from this teacher. And at the end of the class,
Hmm.
the teacher approached my mom and was like, hey, does your daughter have any agent or a manager? And my mom had no idea what that was or is. So she was like, I don't know where to even start. So the teacher gave a list of just names. I went to the first person on the list. That ended up being what became a manager. Again, we had no like intention with any of this. And I say
Hmm.
we, like I'm a part of a big family. It wasn't just me and my mom, but she was such an
Right.
instrumental player in all of this because I was 10 years old. I had
Yeah.
no idea. Like she would just be like, do what you like to do. And all of this was and continued to be a hobby. So, to get to your
Hmm.
question, my first Broadway show, and this was when I was in 7th grade. So, this was like 2 or 3 years after I had first started auditioning in New York,
Hmm.
and was with a manager, was Mary Poppins, the Disney musical. It was the original Broadway cast, which was such a like looking back, everyone always talked about like, oh, the fact that you get to originate with the cast, that's such a cool experience. I didn't really know what that meant until I was
Right.
in it, and to be able to like create the role, build with the cast, because many times shows run on Broadway and you might get inserted in, and there's many people
Hmm.
that came before you. So that was 2007, and I was
Wow.
in it for my like 7th grade year. I moved to New York. I had a babysitter. I called it my own Mary Poppins that watched me, because the whole time that my parents supported me in literally a hobby. It was a job, but I didn't think of it as a job.
Yeah.
And they always said that I could do it, but they weren't going to move the entire family to New York. So my 3 brothers stayed back in New York. My parents stayed back in New York, and I was 12 living with a Mary Poppins of sorts.
Wow.
And that was like the first time I got to really experience New York City and city life.
Hmm.
And after that, it was very hard for me to leave and to because
Yeah.
I in Boston where I grew up, very suburban. Our town is known for horses. It's a great place to grow up. Going back after living in New York, I was like, this is kind of boring. I want more.
Yeah. I was
I
gonna
want more
say.
excitement.
Yeah.
So yes, Bloomberg did bring me back to New York after college, but it was because of the like early years that I had. living in the city as a kid, I always knew
Hmm.
I wanted to go back to New York. Like, yes,
Yeah.
Boston is where I was raised, but I think the city of New York is so different than anywhere else, and I couldn't imagine matching that energy anywhere else.
Yeah. Wow. That's first of all, that's incredible. I'm like wondering if I actually saw you in Mary Poppins on Broadway because I feel like that would be the age I was like 11, 10, 11. And I remember like going to the show multiple times. And I feel like
Really? Yeah.
I must have seen you at some point. But I'm smiling so much as you tell that story because there are so many things that I'm like, oh my God, The Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie growing up. I have no talent like singing or acting or anything, but it's one of those movies where I was like, okay, well, now I have to see Wicked. And then I saw Wicked and I was like,
Yeah.
I left and I was so inspired and on no again, like on no singing acting level. So like to hear you say that is just so cool. And to have that experience is incredible. I mean,
Oh,
and
it's a
it's
magical
had like
world.
had it,
Yeah.
yeah, like I can't even imagine how it feels now to be like, oh, I was part of the original Broadway cast where I used to geek out on that because when I started my career in music, I was like working at a label called Ghostlight Records and I felt like I was their biggest champion because they would do all these original Broadway cast recordings and they actually did like
Yeah.
a bunch of big ones. They did like Hamilton in the Heights and all these other ones and nobody understood it until like and I would be like, "Oh, it's the original Broadway cast recording." They're like, "What?" And I'm like,
Those
"Oh,
live
it
in
just doesn't make
history.
sense." Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a big thing. So that's really really cool.
Yeah. The
Really
the
cool.
the original Broadway cast albums, what I love about how that translates is it
Mhm.
reaches kids who will never go to New York. They'll never have the opportunity.
Yep.
Beyond kids, anyone.
Yeah.
It's such a like the storytelling of shows that you just mentioned of Hamilton for the people that I mean now they can watch it on Disney Plus, but
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's a really like that's a very special, unique form of storytelling.
No, it is for sure. And then one thing before, of course, before I move on to running, but I, to your point, I think it's something I grew up in New Jersey. So, and I grew up going to shows all the time, like musicals. When I
Mm,
got older, it was more like I was more into the play scene and all of that. But I grew up doing that. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, wow, I was really, really fortunate to have that experience because so many people are like, oh,
mhm.
I've never seen a Broadway show. Like my friend just said it to me the other day. She's like, I really want to see Wicked with you. I've never seen a Broadway show. And my immediate instinct was like, that's insane. How have you not seen a Broadway show? And then I think about it and I'm
Yeah.
like, people just don't have that experience or they don't have access or they're far away or whatever for a million different reasons. But
Yeah.
it's a crazy world, but it's very magical and I very much enjoy
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so when did in the mix of all of this, and now
Yeah.
you're working at Bloomberg for a decade, and all of these things, when did running actually come into your life?
Um, Running for me was and still is, it's so social. Like,
Hmm.
yes, there's the physical aspect of it. There's the mental clarity that I get from it. But I started getting to running in high school. I joined the girls cross country team at
Hmm.
my school, and anyone could join. And obviously, there was the girls that would kind of be coached further, and they were like the 10 varsity, but otherwise, it was like 30 to 40 girls. I was in the non varsity, just there for the vibes.
Hmm.
And it had the added benefit of being like active but honestly, I don't remember the races as much as I remember the practices and the
Hmm.
like fun. I was a clown and I kind of still am when it comes to like running. Um like I would joke during races that I would honestly sometimes break out in song with a friend of mine because we were just again there
So
for the
good.
vibes. And so we had
Yeah,
this game
yeah.
that we would play during high school cross country. This is just to show how like not serious I took it
I love it.
where we had this game where we would try to sing a song that had the phrase "Don't stop" in it, but you had to pick different songs. So it'd be like "Don't stop, fall in love, don't stop, believe it," and we would just like literally transition. We were like
That's so
ridiculous,
good.
but we had so much fun. And I will say, like, we did try. It wasn't like we were walking or what have you. And I learned a ton of skills from my cross country coach, that I still like. There's phrases, and I think this happens to people who have competed like in any sport, of a coach that will say certain things.
Mhm.
So for example, my coach, he used to say, "You are stronger than the hill," and he would scream that during our cross country races, um, like when you're mid hill. And
Yeah.
literally, I will be in Central Park when I get to the hill, and I'll hear his voice. Like it does not
I
shout out
bet. I
Coach
bet.
Darren. So that was kind of like my foundation. But again, it was so social. I didn't
Mhm.
um, push myself to the point of like, I don't know. I guess I did care and I wanted to get faster, but I was there to like have fun with girls. And I made
Yeah.
some like really good friends. Uh, Flash forward to like the start of college. Again, I was running because it was a social thing. I wasn't on a team, but
Mhm.
I immediately met like 5 or 6 girls that would go on a run in the morning. And that was something that I probably would have done on my own just to start my day. But it became so social. We got to know each other. We would talk about where we grew up and um, everything, honestly, not having to do with running. And a
Mhm.
lot of them had, similar to me, like been on their cross country team. Um, but I never like again competed. I didn't do any races of sorts. Um, until I got to New York. And like many people here, NYRR, the races in Central Park, was like my first
Mhm.
entry. There was I call her my work wife, Molly. She and I at Bloomberg, we both signed up for the, um, is it Greta's
I
Gallop
think, yeah,
that
Greta's Great Gallop.
happens?
Is
And
it?
it,
Yeah, yeah.
and looking back, like it's always at the end of August. It's like one of the hottest races. And I
Mhm.
think that the year that we did it, we were like sweating buckets and I hate the heat, but we had so much
Yep.
fun. And that's when I like first got hooked on races and just
Mhm.
doing it as an adult in New York. And so my first time running the Staten Island half, that was the longest race I'd ever run. And when I finished it, I had so much fun, and it was an individual thing for me. So at that point, it had kind of transitioned from, oh, I'd only run in these social circles to, oh, I'm
Mhm.
doing these races and seeing if I can get faster. Um, and after the end of the Staten Island race, I was like, huh, it was really good weather. It was like such a fun experience. The race is well organized. And I literally went home and signed up for the Chicago Marathon because I just thought, idiotically, I was like,
I love
you
it.
know, I just did a half. Why don't I just do a full?
Mhm.
And I signed up through Team for Kids, which is how, let's bring Tim into the picture. Tim had to get in here at this point. That is
Of
where I
course.
met. Okay, and we'll also bring it back to the social circle, which was
Yeah.
Team for Kids brought me this like entirely new group of friends. And it was best case scenario. This was coming out of COVID, so it was 2021. I had signed up
Mhm.
for Chicago. I had no idea what it meant to train for a marathon, but TFK has the amazing resources and places. They have the coach. They have, at the time, there was some like form of what is now Runa, just like a coaching website.
Yep.
Sorry, this is the
No,
dog
you're
squeaking
fine.
in the
My dog is
background.
literally moving and they're like jumping up and down off my bed. So you're good. Don't worry about it.
He has entered the picture.
This is real life. So
Yeah, TFK's resources, the like schedule that they would give you, the app, it was, I think, the best possible entry for me. And I think many people have
Mhm.
experienced this too, just to see what it was like to train for a marathon. And then I also met lifelong friends. Tim, my friend Ryan, Sibel, Mark. There's like so many people I could name. And to this day, 5 years later, almost 6 years later, it will be six. I like still am very, very close with them. They were my foundation of what became my running community in New York. So that social circle just formed into a different thing. I thought it was so beautiful to form adult relationships that, quite honestly, even though I'm meeting these people later in my life, some of these relationships are
Mhm.
the deepest I've ever had, because when we're connecting, we're not staring at our phones. We're not distracted
Mhm.
by other things. We're just like fully focused on just catching up and hearing what's going on in each
Yep.
other's lives.
Mhm.
I learned about like the the long run on Saturdays, which again became just like a
The
great
ritual.
way, the ritual,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just got addicted. And this
Mhm.
was so Chicago was the fall of 2021, first marathon, and I am now training for my seventh. I just like it, honestly, just
Wow.
fully bit the bug, or got bit by the bug. Um, and I, a couple years ago, um, joined CPTC. So that's like another community for me. And I've made so many
Mhm.
friends through that. It gave me even more structure of how to train, more than how to train, like having partners to train with.
Yep. It's so much more fun.
It's so much more fun. It,
Yeah.
like, really gets me through hard workouts, but also in the worst way, I now can't run by myself. Just,
Oh, I
like,
know.
I
I
hate
know. It's
it.
like you get so spoiled. And it's so funny. Like, I'm so glad you brought this up because I think, and I understand from one point of view how joining a running club, and not specifically like CPTC, takes me a second to say that every time,
I know.
how it can be intimidating on like one end, but on the other hand, like if you really join a club or you join a group or you just run with friends like outside of that, I think if you fully embrace it, it can become this beautiful thing, to your point of like it's really hard to make friends as an adult when you're not in
Mhm.
a setting that's like not work or not running or some sort of
Yeah,
activity, right? So I think that's really special that you found that, and I'm really glad you brought it up because I think a lot of people, like, the most I hear that the most on this podcast is like, I'm so afraid to join a running club, and I'm like, wait, don't be afraid. It can turn into
yeah,
this
yeah,
is what it's about,
yeah,
and it
and
provides structure, right, to you.
I think in the same way that, like, when you start college and you don't know many people, like, there's this someone once told me that, and I tell this to my youngest brother when he was going to college, it's like, you find your people. You find, so let's say it's
Hmm.
a running club. Every running club has different personalities within it. It's not, sure, there's reputations for running clubs, but you
Of
will
course.
find your people. Just be yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I it did help for me. It was the people I met in TFK, which was again a new environment for me. I didn't know these people, but it was
Hmm.
Tim. It was people who were on TFK that convinced me to sign up for CPTC. So it does help having a
Hmm.
little encouragement. But yes, taking the leap is like the hardest step, and then after that, it all
Yeah.
falls into place.
No, it's so true. And I feel like Tim deserves the bragging rights because another tidbit he gave me was that he did recruit you to Central Park Track Club.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, that makes a lot of sense now that now that the wheels are turning. Um, okay. So you do Greta's pronunciation, Greta's Great Gallop, which,
Gallop.
by the
Yeah.
way, backtracking, that was the worst race of my entire NYRR career. I think like it actually made me hate 10Ks. I don't know why. I think it's the weather, to your point.
It's hard.
Um,
It's
it's
awful. Like,
so
looking
hard.
back on
It's
it, I don't
so
think I'll
bad.
ever do it again. But
I
so
have not done it again. No joke.
yeah.
I mean, like, no shade. It's just the timing of it, and I truly, since that point, have said I hate 10Ks because I just can't. Like, by the time I warmed up in that race, I was like, all right, I'm feeling it. And then my body did this weird thing where it like cooled down, and then I was like freezing cold, and I'm like, wait, I still have 4 miles to go. What the heck?
Oh
Um,
no.
so now I'm afraid to run it because it scares me. um,
I mean, there's so
but
many other races.
there's
And you
so
know
many good
what? I don't
ones.
even feel bad shit talking Greta's Gallop, because everything sells
True.
out on NYRR now. So, like, people will find their
Yes, that's
races.
right.
And for those
That's right.
people that Greta's is their race, go for it. Have fun.
Yeah. I hope you full send it, and I hope you get your PR, but it's never going to be me. There are
No.
other races that are better. um, no, I love that. And it's funny, like, your progression of signing up for races, because I feel like that's something where first, I mean, I had that, but I think a lot of people have that where they're like, oh, I ran a half. Like
I'll do a
I could
full.
do the
Yeah.
marathon. But it's funny because like Staten Island is another one where you were like, oh, I'm so inspired to run the full from this. And I'm like, I will never go near the Staten Island half ever in my entire life. For some
Yeah,
reason. There's no, again, it's one of those where I'm like,
well, that's a
do I
tough
have
course
to?
too. I think,
It's
you
hard.
know,
Yeah.
it's funny. I think about right now my running journey is that like when you have an experience that burns you out, um,
Hmm.
like that Staten Island for me, I was like pushing myself, but not to the point where I was like going to throw up or I felt
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And so finishing on a high note, it's the same that I felt like. I think this is hard to master with a marathon because a marathon, you never know. And honestly, like the weather dependent, whatever. Like that
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
some things are out of your control. But in general, if you
Hmm.
can be conservative and just enjoy the experience, I think that's oftentimes a good way to
Yeah.
start. And that's like for me, if I had had a really bad race, I we might not be talking. Like I might not
Yeah.
have started running marathons.
No, I get it. I get it. But it's cool that you took the leap. And I think Chicago's a good one. And I mean, now you're training for number 7.
Yeah.
But how was Chicago as the first one? Like, give
Oh,
me the
it was it
real
was
talk,
actually
real hot take.
pretty awful. So for a
Yeah.
while, I had this streak of running marathons that were like always the hottest day on record for the specific marathon. So Chicago
Hmm.
2021, for anyone that ran that, um, it was the best way I would describe it is the 5 feet in front of you looked like soup. It was just so humid that the
It's crazy.
air was like it was a fog and like the heat. It was probably 80 degrees by the time that like peak day. But the humidity was like 99%. And so I've
That's
never
brutal.
sweat so much in my life. Um, I I can't remember if I took gel. I think I took gels. Like I definitely drank water, but I don't love the taste of Gatorade, so like I wasn't maybe getting enough electrolytes.
Hmm.
Anyway, by the time I hit the like classic mile 21 wall, but I didn't really know any better. I was like, "Oh, I'd never walked in a race before and I had to walk and someone was God bless those people that have on hot races the sponges that have just been dipped in ice
Oh,
and you get to
yes.
just like
Yes.
squeeze them on your face. That really helped me. And then I started running again and like I finished and I did like pretty well.
Hmm.
And I think I'm trying to remember my first time. I think I was like 3:36. And again, I had walked and when I had gotten to the finish, like that was my main goal. I never like really had a time in mind. So it
Yeah.
was like a good base to start.
Hmm.
Um, and then the classic thing happened of someone being like, "Oh, the qualifying time for Boston, where you're from, is 3:30. Would you ever just want to try to like get 6 minutes faster?" And I was like, never thought of that until now. Maybe. But
Yeah.
like that experience was more like, I just want to see what this is all about. And I think I didn't know any better of like whether or not I should feel bad, should feel good. I think
Hmm.
now having run a few, I do know like the weather was real bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and now I like know how to hydrate more. Like there's things I've learned along the way. But as a first one, it was humbling. Um,
Hmm.
what I loved about it and what I continue to love about running marathons is this the experience outside of running is such a highlight for me. My mom had come to Chicago with me. I hadn't
Hmm.
spent a lot of time one on one with her as an adult. Like since my bringing it back to the theater conversation. Like
Yeah.
clearly we spent so much time together. But like college, post college, this was like a our first trip together and just seeing the
Hmm.
city of Chicago. I had never been to Chicago before. I think there's so many highlights that running brings in life outside of the activity itself. So as a first marathon, it was great. And like it's what everyone talks about in terms of the easy start. So that was like, I didn't have, now I'm laughing because I'm like, I've done New York and Boston to know that like, oh, not all starts are like that. I definitely took that for
Yep.
granted,
Yep.
but great city. I also have not run a flat course like that since. Well, so the one that I did after was Jersey City. So I have run a flat
Okay, I was
course
gonna
in
ask.
Jersey City.
Okay. Yeah.
But flat courses are great. I
Yeah.
should. It's been a few years, but yeah, that's another
No.
perk, obviously, to Chicago.
No, I should take your advice on that too with the flat courses because
Mm,
I these hills are killing me. So, okay, so you said you eventually did Boston.
mm.
What was that like leading up to getting the BQ? Like what race was it? What were you thinking you were going in to get a BQ? How did it all come to be? And what was your experience in Boston, of course?
So it was Jersey City, but between that Chicago, I did run New York.
Hmm.
It was another crazy hot day.
Oh, that was that year,
20
right? 20
2022, I think it was.
2022 was like the really hot day, I
Really
think,
hot.
right? Yeah.
I had not I think I was running with TFKs at the time. Um, so I had had the community. I like was like, okay, this is my second go. Um, and long story short, entering the park, when you see that sign that says "Welcome to Central Park,"
Hmm.
at that point, I had never experienced anything like this. Like people talk about hitting the wall. I don't know if you've ever had the experience, I had not until this moment, where your head feels so heavy, like you don't realize how much weight and like the
Hmm.
energy that you need to hold your head up. And I was like, my head was starting to fall back, and all of a sudden I was like browning out. And next thing I know, I was on the floor and I had just
No.
passed out. And then this very
So
nice
bad.
policeman picked me up off the ground. For all New York is a great race. This was like a very scary running moment for me
Hmm.
because I didn't know I could push my body to this point,
Hmm.
which was the point of I passed out. The policeman carried me to the park bench, and I now look at that park bench, and this park bench has many meanings to me now. Um,
Hmm.
and all I remember being on this park bench is he was asking me my name, um, and like if anyone I could call. Thank God I had my phone with me, so he went into my emergency contacts, called my then boyfriend
Wow.
and my parents. They came, but next thing I know, I was in the ambulance, and I was like
Oh.
first away. The policeman actually, to his credit, he was the nicest guy. He offered to walk me to the finish line, but at that point, it would have been another 4 miles. And my mom looked at
Oh
me.
man.
I had blue lips. I had white hands. I did not look good. And she just looked at me and she
Scary.
was like, she is going nowhere but Mount Sinai. So that is where I went.
Yeah.
Um, and that
Wow.
experience honestly defined how I went into Jersey City. I think
Hmm.
so. Why I then became like I had the objective of running Boston was because of my dad. I grew up watching
Hmm.
my dad. He's an incredible runner. He played soccer in college, and his first Boston Marathon was when he was a sophomore. He lost a bet
Wow.
at like a frat party or something. And the
Hmm.
bet was whoever lost had to run the Boston Marathon like a few weeks later. He had not trained. I think he
Wow.
ran it in like Sambas or something, like just went out and ran it. Um Obviously at this time there was not like all the security, and I
Hmm.
think he had a bib. I don't know how he got a last minute bib. All I know is that he just like went out on a whim, and
Hmm.
from that moment his sophomore year in college, so this was in the like 80s, I think. He ran Boston like every year since. So as a kid,
Wow.
I and growing up in Boston, we would all go and watch the Boston Marathon. And he would give us each like we would go in Wellesley at about the halfway point, and each of us would have little um, jobs that he would give us. So like I had a gel, and then my brother had a water bottle,
Oh,
and
that's
like
so
so
cute.
we felt that we were like a part of the race. It was
Hmm.
the most magical day. I loved it. I don't As a kid I never watched it being like I want to do that. That looks inspiring. I just thought it was a fun day. Um
Yeah.
I think after Chicago is when I was like, ooh, this would be cool. And my dad was still running it. So I was like, I would love to run with my dad. Like
Mm-hmm.
how much of a full circle amazing moment would that be? So then I got really fixated in my head, which is why like I really went hard. New York had that terrible experience. It was really because of dehydration, and I
Yeah.
was like nursed back to health by IV bags. But it was scary, and it like really taught me to like force Gatorade
Yeah.
during races. Like there was,
Mm-hmm.
I think I appreciate running and my body and health in a completely different way. So I went into Jersey City, like still having this objective to qualify. And I kind of told myself, you know what? Give it a go. This is a flat race.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the weather will be okay. Luckily, it did end up being okay. The weather was like my first time. Um,
Yeah.
and I just said, if it doesn't happen, you always like there's other ways to run Boston. You don't have to qualify if you don't in this
Mm-hmm.
race. You will run Boston one day. So I think I took the pressure off of myself. Um, I went into it being like, let's just see what can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a great day. I had a lot of like support around me, some friends. My brother and my boyfriend came in. Like it just, again, like it just felt like everything was clicking, and I was just so
Yeah.
grateful. And then I did when I crossed the finish line and knew that I had a qualifying time, I cried. I always run with my phone now because of my experience in New York of like if I ever had an emergency. So I
Yeah.
immediately took out my phone and called my dad and was like, "Dad, I'm coming to
Oh,
Boston." And I was like
wait, I
so
love
emotional.
that.
I was like
I love that.
very excited because the other thing I get these like weird fixations. Um, type A runner, those types.
Yeah, I mean,
Where
we all do it.
yeah. So my dad was turning 60 and I was turning 30. And I was like, how cool would it be if you turn 60, I turn 30, and we run like the Boston Marathon together on like those big years.
It's
And
insane.
that's what we got to do. And it was
Wow.
the most like magical beyond just being able to run the course. And the course has so much meaning to me because these are the towns I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
But doing it with my dad and also doing all the things around the race, like going to pick up our bibs together, um,
Mm-hmm.
and like hearing from him about, and he's so funny because he's run it for so many years that like he's also the type like totally, I mean, he's type A for sure, but in terms of running, he's like kind of type B, where like most people are like planning out their meals and really strict about like not drinking. I swear, the night before the Boston Marathon, he has an IPA in his hand. Like he
That's
is
so
just like
funny.
he I love he's actually a great role model, I think, for at least for me. I'm like, wow, you can live your life, and he doesn't talk about running, but he's so
Mhm.
fast and he's so like he is a go-getter, but he doesn't let that define him, and he doesn't let it
Mhm.
drop into like every conversation. But it was fun, like our to run that marathon, and we were on the start line together. Like it was
Stop. I'm going to cry on
that
my own
was
podcast.
amazing.
That's so cute. I love that. And it's such a special moment. And I talk about it all the time on the podcast where it's like, it means so much more when your people are just like there, even if they're cheering. And to have that experience with somebody like your dad is, I mean, if my dad was a runner, I wouldn't trade the experience for the world. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's one of those that's just going to stick with you forever. That's so amazing. That's so amazing. Is he running it this year?
No, he's so fun. So he got his sixth star um in
Love it.
September. So he ran Berlin was his last. And for anyone that you have talked to that has run that Berlin, that was like the New York
I heard it was
the
rough.
in terms of the
Yeah.
weather. So he
Yeah.
basically ran that and was like, I think I'm good. Like I
Yeah.
have my sixth
I'm
star.
done.
Like I think he's run 19 Boston. I don't know how many
Wow.
like total marathons. So he was just like, I mean, he has nothing to prove, obviously. He never did. But he could keep running, like he's qualifying for Boston. Um,
Hmm.
last year was his first Boston. He hadn't run in like I don't know how many years. And that was also like a cool. So I last year was my second Boston. This year, knock on wood, will hopefully be my third. I always
Wait,
say that
same.
people. Oh
I love
my
that.
God!
The first Boston, I was gonna say, really sucked for me because the weather. I mean, I don't know. The weather. It was hot when I started. When
Which
after I
which
started, it
year
got
was that?
hot. 2020, 2024. Yeah.
4 was hot.
That
4 was hot.
yeah, that was
I
like my first Boston experience, and I was like, "Yo,
yeah
I'm never doing this again." And then I
yeah
was like, "Wait, I
I
have beef with Boston. I have to go back."
that's good. I honestly that can be healthy too. Healthy beef,
Yeah,
good healthy beef. Yeah
healthy beef. Yeah, I wasn't
yeah
like pissed about it. I was like,
yeah.
"Whatever."
No, you have like what do they say? Like you have something not something to prove, but like yeah, you just have unfinished business.
Yeah,
That's
I
what it is.
mean, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that year was hot. I think so I that was my first Boston with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we started, he I mean the beginning because it's so net downhill every especially
Mm-hmm.
if it's your first one like you're so caught up and whatever. And my
Yep.
dad
Yep.
just looks at me and he was like, "Cat, slow down." And I think that if he
Yeah.
hadn't like been very serious, and he's like such a fun guy, but he was serious because he was like, I know you, and like, don't have a repeat New York. Like,
Yeah.
keep it
Yeah.
conservative. You'll have a much better time.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoying it, meaning. And he
Yeah.
was right. And like, I think I had actually a really great race. I felt really strong because I started
Love
out
it.
more conservative, and because he like pulled me back, as he should. And also my having the experience of New York with heat and the dehydration, I was
Mm-hmm.
adamant about like getting water or Gatorade at every stop and
Yep.
just listening to my body. Even though, like, honestly, the thing that scared me about New York is I was like, I was so good at, people tell you marathons are mental. So I was so good at like turning the voice off of like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
in pain. I'm about to pass out. And I just passed out. so,
Yeah,
so
that's really
honestly,
scary.
that, that was a little
It's
scary. I
so
was like,
scary.
wow, I can trick myself to do bad things.
Bad things. I
yeah.
know. I think we all can when we're running, honestly. It's like your first or your New York that was really hot was like my Boston that was really hot. Like I just
Mm,
had I was not heat trained. I was miserable the entire time.
yeah.
Miserable. And I was just maintaining pace. And then I got to the Newton Hills and I was like, it's not gonna be a good time. like I was
That's,
and that was the first marathon I walked. It was my slowest marathon ever. And I had like you just have this feeling of like, ugh, like, I don't wish that upon anybody. Of course, I don't wish fainting upon anybody either. But it's really scary. It's scary to
yeah.
feel like lightheaded even and just like get
You
woozy. I
learn
can't even
so much
imagine.
from those moments. Like,
Hmm.
you gotta have the
Hmm.
bad experiences too. If you only
Yeah.
had good,
I
like,
know, like it's
it doesn't put
yeah.
it into
I say that
perspective.
all the time. I say that to people all the time. I'm like, I'm in a way I'm so happy that that was my first Boston because I had put so much pressure on it and I finally had like bad weather, a bad race. I mean, I finished. It was an accomplishment no matter what, but like bad for what I was going for. And I've like learned how to fuel properly and I've learned how to move
Yeah.
on from it and how to deal with it mentally. And it really does. It's you need one of those to like keep going with positivity, I feel like,
Yeah.
and just keep riding with it.
Did you say that this year is your third? So did we run the same
Hmm.
years?
Yeah, we did. We
Oh my
did.
gosh. That's so
I know.
awesome.
How have I never like run into you? I don't get it.
Allie,
This is,
third time's a
uh,
charm. Third
yo,
time is our charm.
I just said that on the recording before this with my editor of this podcast. I was like, third time's the charm. I'm telling you. So we'll plan something this year. Please, I would love to meet you in person. That'd be so awesome.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely
Um,
make that happen.
yeah, we will. Do you have any fun plans? I know some people don't like to share their goals. So if you want to share your
Mm,
goals for Boston and number 7, feel free. If you don't, I respect it. I don't speak anything really into existence because I'm paranoid, but um or I like fluff up the numbers a little bit so that I'm like
yeah.
not setting
Yeah.
myself up for disappointment. But
Honestly,
yeah, what are
that
you
my
feeling going in?
my goal for this race that I think is actually going to be the thing is to like give myself grace to
Hmm.
like not I think I've tried in recent marathons to like my PRs are just try to do better than the last time. Just try to improve.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
this one is not so much about like I can improve in other ways that don't involve the time. And I think that
Hmm.
it's like really being present. I had my first like kind of major injury. I had a stress fracture in the fall that
Hmm.
I, doing this block, was so worried that I think that's why I keep saying, like, knock on wood, or when people ask me, like, are you running Boston? My response is not yes, which it should be. Because, like, yes, that's my plan.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
always like,
I
I
know.
hope, like, you never know. We're like a week away, and I'm still like, we'll
Hmm.
see. But like, that's the feeling I've had around this block is I just feel very grateful that I've like made it this far. And I think that come race day, it's about the celebration.
Hmm.
My plan is to, there's a lot of my CPTC teammates, some of them it's their first one, some they're coming back. I love both experiences. I love experiencing it again with people who do it all the time. I also
Hmm.
love the fact that people are doing it and they're like, oh, like today I we did our like last tempo, and one of my teammates that were like training at the same pace, he asked me like, is is Harlem Hill like how does that compare to Heartbreak Hill? And I was like, great question. I honestly
Yeah.
hard to compare, but it's like,
Yeah.
things like that where it's like I love that people get to like I loved experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because and I think I like still love every year just I think that's why I'm so addicted is that like
Hmm.
there's nothing like Marathon Monday. Um
Yep.
I feel that way about the New York Marathon. Like it's very hard for me not to participate. However, I have come to really enjoy cheering too. Like I really
Yeah.
PR'd in cheering this year, like major PR.
I love that for
I was
you.
really, really great. Major signs. Because of my musical theater background, I just belt out my friends' names.
Yes, I
They can
love
hear
that.
me. I stand like right off of the 59th Street Bridge and just they can hear me from coming off the Queensboro Bridge. So yeah, I think
So cool.
every race, I just like I still get that like
Yeah.
it's more than jitters. It's just like this high um
Hmm.
that it like you put in so much work. I also have really enjoyed for the most part this winter was brutal weather-wise, but for the most part
Yeah.
I love the excuse to train. I know that sounds crazy.
No, I
Um,
love it too. I do.
but
I
yeah,
like
having the
I
structure.
need the structure. Yes, I
Hmm.
need like like I'm always the one in the friend group that's waking up at like I don't even care if it's 5:30, 4:30, 5:30, whatever. Even on a trip, I'm like, well, I'm not going to be any fun if I don't get my run in, but also
Hmm.
I don't want to impact like what we have going on because to your point before that we were talking about, it's like you have to live your life, but at the same
Yeah,
time I'm like I just need the structure of like knowing that it's done and like knowing that I've kind of at least done 90% of what I should have done leading up
yeah,
to it. And to your point
yeah.
about Boston and any marathon for that matter, like just when you turn into Central Park, I know it might have a different meaning for you now, of course, but when you see the flags, you're like, oh, it's over. And then I have this moment of like sadness where I'm like, wow,
Mm,
like this was such a party. It was so fun. And I have that feeling every time. And I know everybody says it and it sounds so cheesy, but it's like, I wish I could hold on to the moment where you make the turn onto Boylston because
yeah,
it's like it's one of those things that you just can't put into words in my
yeah,
opinion. Like you just have to feel it. And I'm sure people cheering too feel the same way. Like it's crazy seeing people make that turn and be so excited. So
yeah,
that's what it's all about, you know?
totally.
That's what it's all about. I love it. Well, before we wrap up here, because I have to ask you about you hiking Kilimanjaro. Because
Oh,
first of all, Tim would kill me. I know we're switching lanes here, but I feel like I've taken up too much of your time, and I'm so sorry. But I just had so many questions, and I love your story. It's amazing. Um, but yeah, tell me about that. What prompted the hike?
oh boy. So my husband Vlad, he's not I mean, he runs, but not marathons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's very active. He loves basketball. He played basketball in college, plays like in the Equinox League by our apartment. So his basketball like is the equivalent of my running. It's the
Yeah.
thing that like we each have our things. Honestly, it was like so nice when I first started dating, when we first met, like I would be like, "Oh, I'm training for Chicago." Literally, I met him right when I was doing my first marathon. I was like, "I
Hmm.
think I have a long run that's going to be like 2-ish. I don't know how many hours I'm going to be gone." And he's like, "Great. I go to the gym for like 3 hours to play basketball for 3 hours every Saturday." I was like, "Wow, this works out." So anyway, we
Yeah.
have like our separate things, but the thing that we love doing together is hiking. So when we were thinking about our honeymoon, we could have gone in two directions. One was going to Switzerland and doing like a very nice Swiss Alps, like going hut to hut, being in Europe, and it would have been very nice. And I think we're going to do that one day. Or
You should.
we did the extreme version, which was Kilimanjaro, um, summiting to 19,000 feet above sea level. Um,
Wow.
it why it appealed to us was number one, there's things around in Tanzania that like as a trip it's more diverse. So there we had the Serengeti, we had Zanzibar, the beaches. So there was three different activities to do in our honeymoon beyond just Kilimanjaro. In Kilimanjaro, we thought, when else in our life, we're not going to do this with young kids. If we have kids, and then even after kids, when the kids are out of the house, like then do you really want to hike Kilimanjaro and you're like, you know,
Yeah.
older? And we were just like, if we don't do this now, I don't know if we would. So we did more research, and Vlad found a company that would give us a guide, and we were just like, let's do it. And it was 8 days, so different from like running or training in terms of like both mentally and physically. The hardest part for me personally was going so slow. You are literally
Yeah.
walking at like what felt like glacial pace. Um,
Yeah.
they would say pole pole, which is slow. And I think the guide like hated me the first day because I was like trying to like speed up a little
Yeah.
bit. And he's like, "We are not racing." I was like, "I know, I'm just like, this is just my
I'm
normal
sorry.
pace." And then like Vlad would be like, "Oh, this is just who she is. Like, let her go.
Yeah. I mean, you
Let her
both
get
live in New
tired."
York. How do you not walk
I
fast?
know. I
Like,
know.
it's
I'm
so
just like
hard.
trained. But that was so good for me. Like that was the hardest part, was being like live in the moment. Like this is not a
Hmm.
race. You will get to the destination. Like they weren't they were distance wise short hikes each
Hmm.
day. It was probably like 3-4 miles we'd walk a day, but it would take 5-6
Yeah.
hours because you would stop and you would like look around. But that was so nice. And it was
Yeah.
what I really wanted out of it too, because I work in news and because New York City is just all about like being on your phone, like you're on your phone and there's things coming at you all the time. So
Hmm.
being on this hike without any cell phone service, just like figuring out how to slow down taught me so much. Um, and then the summit, which is probably why Tim was like, "Oh, have her tell you about her hike of Kilimanjaro," because the
Yeah.
summit day is
Yeah.
nuts. Um,
I bet.
you it's that one was physically harder than I thought it would be for different reasons.
Hmm.
Number one, you start the summit, you have this like big breakfast at midnight, and then you leave your tent around midnight, and
Oh my
it
God.
takes you 6 hours to get to the top when the sun is rising. And the reason you're hiking overnight before the sun comes up is that the ground needs to be like frozen solid. When the sun comes up, the
Wow.
gravel starts to be too loose for you to hike. So you do it with headlamps, and everyone is
It's
like
crazy.
throwing up, and like
I
bodily
was just
fluids
gonna ask
are
that.
are
I was
everywhere.
just gonna
It's
ask.
gross. And I mean, I'm just gonna remind you, we're on our honeymoon. The fact that like this
Yeah.
is like the environment that we were in, but and so I looked back at my husband who was having much worse altitude sickness than I was, but I was starting
Yeah.
to lose it too. But he was like
Yeah.
white in the face. He
It's
looked like
crazy.
me at mile 22 of the New York City Marathon. Like
Oh my
I was
God.
like, I need to helivac you to
But
like the
like
nearest
at
hospital
altitude.
at
Yeah.
altitude. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, oh geez, this was a week after our wedding. I was like, I'm not even a week into this and I'm gonna be a widow.
Oh
Like,
no.
this is
Yeah.
so
Oh
bad.
my
I was like,
gosh.
please survive. Um, but all jokes aside, we did make it to the top. My husband was like,
Thank
he
God.
was, he was so out of it and so white in the face. I had a mental breakdown going up at one point because the guide was like forcing me to eat these biscuit cookies. And
Oof.
here I am
It's not even what you want, I'm sure. It's like,
thinking
ugh.
thinking I know best, right? Because I know my body, I know when I'm hungry, I know how to fuel.
Hmm.
When you're like that high above sea level, you don't know nothing. And I'm thinking I'm
Yeah.
so smart. And
Yeah.
I also kind of resented the fact that he was forcing me to eat something. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need it. And then he was
Hmm.
literally like forcing it down my throat. So then I started crying and it was this whole thing.
Yo, I would have
So
been the same way.
so so my husband honestly when he was like about to throw up, but he saw me crying, he started laughing because he was like, this is kind of ridiculous. You're acting like a child. And he was right. I was acting like a 5-year-old child. So
I mean, whatever. Warranted.
we both had different experiences, but we did make it. And then like on the way down, uh my husband was also he's just still not in great shape. So the guide started like running down the mountain with him. And I thought that meant that they were like heading towards the hospital. He didn't really like communicate to tell me
Yeah.
if he was okay. And like they were just bolting down the mountain. So I was like on my own
That's so
being like,
scary.
okay. Um, and by the time we made it back, it was like 9:30, 10. So that was a midnight to 10 a.m. excursion. Uh,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I know. And I'm like,
I'm like
whew,
sweating just thinking about that. Oh my
it
God.
was, but you know what? This is a story. Hey, I'm telling it here. This is definitely a
Yeah.
story that this is again, I've told Tim this story many times on our long runs.
Yep.
And it is a story we'll tell our kids. Like I
It
don't regret
is.
that experience was like something that we will never ever ever forget. And the pictures are
Hey.
pretty great.
Listen, I mean, that's a hell of a newlywed story. I'll tell you that much. That's so cool. And such a cool experience to have like with your partner. It's so cool. So cool. One that I probably will never have because I will be the one that's throwing up. Um but no, thank you. Thank you
I
for
don't
sharing
recommend it
that.
to
That's so
everyone.
cool. Yeah, I mean, you got to be like prepared and you got to actually listen to rules. I don't know if I could do that. I
Yeah.
think I just got to go on my own journey. But no, Kat, this has been the best time. I think we're going to be fast friends when we meet in Boston.
Oh,
I'm
totally.
confident in that. And I hope we get to have a bunch of runs together in New York, hopefully.
Me too.
But thank you for coming on the pod. Thank you for your time. Thanks for all the fun stories.
Thank
This was so
you.
fun.
Allie, this was awesome. Thanks for having me.
I love this conversation with Kat so much because it's such a great reminder that running is about so much more than pace or finish times. It's so much about the community and growth and the people and moments that stay with us long after the race is over. I know Kat crushed it in Boston, so check in with her to make sure you let her know that she crushed it in Boston. Kat, thank you so much again for coming on the pod and sharing your story. And thank you all for being here and tuning in to the Allie G Show. If you loved this track, share it with a friend, tag me on social media, subscribe it so you never miss a track of the pod at @_Allie G Show on Instagram. Until next time, keep showing up, keep moving forward, and I will catch you on the next track of the Allie G Show. Bye.